Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and today we're going to talk about Spider-Man. So, I've been sitting on this topic for a little while. It won the Patreon weekly poll we do a couple of weeks ago, and it was kind of in response to Spectacular Spider-Man's big anniversary issue. Then Amazing Spider-Man started basically the final arc of Dan Slott with issue number 797. That series is moving into its big end phase for the big 800 issue, and it will be Dan Slott's final arc as writer of Amazing Spider-Man. And this was originally a slightly different titled video. It was going to be a statement. Spider-Man is broken. Now, it's a bit more of a question. Because at first, after reading Spectacular Spider-Man, it has its ups and downs, but it just felt like Spider-Man is stuck, as he's been for a few years now. He's stuck in this weird limbo between having some character development since when he started out as a hero, having graduated high school and college and gotten a job of his own and all of that business, to but not like fully developing his family or a personal life or a professional success or superhero success as an Avenger. He doesn't really feel like he's part of the Avengers in any meaningful sense. At this point in his career, it'd be cool if he would lead a team. In the professional world, they made him a CEO of a company, but that really didn't feel like it went anywhere or was an integral part of the story. Now, for the record, we've had moments like that throughout the history of Spider-Man's run with Dan Slott. During Spider-Verse, he showed a lot of humanity. During Superior Spider-Man, he showed a great deal of humanity. Renew Your Vows, his tie-in during Secret Wars, was really well done and showed us a real Spider-Man with a sense of family and purpose to him. And it's startling how lacking the whole thing feels compared to those good stories. We don't get that in the typical Spider-Man comics these days. So, I was ready to write off Spider-Man as being really broken for now until Marvel makes some serious inroads into fixing this. The frustrating part of that is there isn't really one set way for them to do so. The most easiest and obvious way to do it would just be to sort of wave away one more day and to start bringing back Mary Jane into the mix. But it's not the only way. Spider-Man could easily develop another love interest or character involved. There's no hard and fast rule about any of this. But it needs purpose. It needs something to keep it grounded and not just one stunt after the other. And that's what Spider-Man feels like these days. He just bounces between his own events, and the in-between stuff feels very mundane and silly. And all that comes on the precipice of a new writer being announced for Spider-Man. And when that was first announced, that Dan Slott was leaving and it was going to be a new person, I spent a great deal of time thinking about who I would put in that position or what writers I would like to see write Spider-Man now that the moment's open and there's an opportunity for someone new to come in. Now, my personal pick would have been Gail Simone. She has a lot of traction. She hasn't really done something like this before. It'd be very cool to see her take on Spider-Man. And I like her as a writer. She's done some of my favorite stuff in the modern age. But she's far from the only choice. Even looking at Marvel's talent on hand, we have people like Tom Taylor, Charles Soule, Al Ewing. You could go and tap into the indie market, get someone like Brian K. Vaughan back and see if he would do it, or Alan Heinberg. All really polished writers who could do a really interesting take on Spider-Man. Before he left, Bendis would have actually been an ideal choice for this because he's written a lot of Spider-Man outside of the mainstream, mostly in the form of Ultimate Spider-Man, and he's very, very good at it. Even late into his time with Marvel when a lot of his titles were starting to drag out and didn't really feel like they had the spark of the man's earlier career, his Spider-Man stuff was good throughout all of that, and it stayed consistently awesome. And right up until the end, that guy wrote some awesome stuff with Miles Morales. But that's not going to happen. And none of these people I'd mentioned happened. And I wasn't even a little bit surprised, because after I thought about all of these cool people who could write for Spider-Man, it then occurred to me to think about what Marvel would do. And then I looked at it from the perspective of, okay, what's the most boring, bland, middle of the road, and obvious choice to make? The answer for me was Nick Spencer. And sure enough, that's exactly who Marvel picked. So it's definitely not the pick I would have made, but it's 100% the pick I expected of them. Because he's this tried and true author who's done these events for them before, and in their eyes it was all a success, and everyone who had legitimate criticisms about him, they've written off as like, oh, it's just part of the hating crowd, like whatever, who cares, we're Marvel, we don't have to listen to anyone. That's the exact dance like Perlmutter did when he hired Nick Spencer. Now, people are already jumping into the comments section to tell me that I'm judging too quickly and all that stuff. Of course I am. I'm not saying Nick Spencer's going to automatically be bad. But, I mean, come on. I imagined what would be the worst decision to make for Marvel, and that's the one they picked. And yes, I know I'm being hard on Nick Spencer, but he really didn't show his best foot forward last year with Secret Empire. I have a lot of issues with how he wrote that, and especially on the follow-through and in making the story feel personable and relatable. He didn't do that throughout the Captain America run leading up to Secret Empire, and I haven't seen it in a lot of his other recent work, especially in Secret Empire, though. He sets up a lot of crazy plot lines, different characters, and all this interesting ideas, and it all just crumbles apart, resolved within a few issues, and then he moves on to whatever next idea crosses his mind. So I'm not excited, because nothing I've seen about Nick Spencer really indicates that. Except for one thing, and that would be his work on Superior Foes of Spider-Man. Now, if you haven't read that title, I really recommend it. It's really good, it's polished, it's smart, it's a lot of fun, and there's few comics out there that legitimately had me laughing out loud all by myself reading it. That's hard to do. Even a funny comic doesn't always do that. I can appreciate humor from an intellectual perspective when reading a lot of these comic books, but not be bursting out laughing at various spots. But that happened in Superior Foes of Spider-Man. And a quintessential part of Spider-Man is having humor and fun. But even that series had the exact same problem I was talking about. Lots of setup, lots of cool ideas, everything just falls apart when it gets cancelled or whatever. So am I excited about Nick Spencer writing Amazing Spider-Man for God knows how long? No, not at all. Not even a little bit. Am I hopeful that I will be wrong? Yeah, of course, guys. I'm always hopeful. And that's where it was going to leave things as of this video. After reading Spectacular Spider-Man number 300, after hearing about Nick Spencer, the person I sarcastically predicted Marvel would pick and was very much right about, I'm not excited. Because it shows Marvel hasn't learned anything. That they're predictable and stale. They go for the easy and safe choice. So why should I give them the benefit of the doubt? At what point in the last 2 years has Marvel earned an inch of benefit of the doubt? The MCU has all the benefit of the doubt in the world. Anytime they say they're going to do something that sounds weird, I say, alright, whatever. They'll probably make it really cool, because they always do. Hate all you want, but that's how I feel about the matter. So, why be optimistic? But there's one thing that swayed me from being firm on Spider-Man being broken as he exists and for the near future to being open to the possibility that maybe not. Maybe we are finally getting a more human Spider-Man. And that is all centered around Amazing Spider-Man number 797. And the reason for that is Mary Jane's back. And within moments of her and Peter talking within this comic, I could feel the old Spider-Man rushing back. And it doesn't have a lot to do with Mary Jane in particular, although she's serving a very important purpose here, in that she's instantly giving us humanity. She's reminding us of this association Spider-Man had from long ago, this person that he cared about, and it's something we can instantly hook our minds around, because it's something we know. It didn't have to be like this. It didn't have to be Mary Jane if Marvel was so firm on breaking these two up. But they needed to replace it with something equal in terms of grounding Spider-Man and giving him familial ties. Could have been a lot of things. They could have brought some more focus back on Aunt May. It could have done a new love interest that wasn't terrible like Carly was. they could have really focused on one of the other love interests they were considering, like Mockingbird or Carol Danvers. I was really excited when they were shopping that idea around like a decade ago, but nothing came of that. So we have all these interesting potential ideas that were never really followed through since One More Day. So the idea of them bringing back Mary Jane, well, I could see the humanity in that just flash right back out of nowhere. And it's funny because around all that stuff is just the usual same old Dan Slott garbage, Green Goblin, rattling some cages, biggest, baddest threat ever, blah, blah, blah. We've seen it a million times and it's all boring as hell. And frankly, I don't care about this last Dan Slott Spider-Man arc. It means nothing to me. I'll check out issue 800 for whatever twist they have planned, but they might not even be planning that much other than to try and reset things as much to give Nick Spencer a nice blank slate to work with. And that's where we have a potential for Spider-Man to be fixed. Because Nick Spencer doesn't have to be the best writer in the world to write Spider-Man. Spider-Man's a really easy character, like he is. Anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong. You just need humanity. A sense of like, oh, I hope Spider-Man doesn't like screw up the ball with Liz Allen. That's all Spider-Man Homecoming needed. Wasn't super deep or anything, but it was enough like character work that I could care about what Peter Parker was up to. Good luck getting that from the Amazing Spider-Man movies, which had the exact same problem, or even a lot of modern Spider-Man these days. So is Spider-Man broken? I don't know. We'll have to see once Nick Spencer starts writing. Obviously, we can't jump to conclusions before then. And maybe Nick Spencer has responded to a little bit of constructive criticism and maybe improved how he goes about writing a comic book story. I know he won't be able to go for the obvious Spider-Man turning evil plotline because that's out the window. That's already happened. If they do something crazy like that again or more unoriginal bullcrap, whatever. Spider-Man is broken then. But if Mary Jane really is coming back, if we're really starting to get a more humane Spider-Man with the family and dealing with that family and balancing his family with his work life, good. That'll fix everything. And we need him to be a more proactive member of the Avengers. It doesn't work. You either have to bring him back to being a novice hero who's still new to this and so the Avengers don't rely on him as much, or he should be leading his own team at this point, or part of like a core Avengers group like he was with the New Avengers. We can't have any of this wishy-washy nonsense or where Spider-Man's off in his own little world. Marvel has these different areas of their publication line with the X-Men, the Avengers, and Spider-Man and that sort of stuff. They need to get over that crap to a degree and start working on better crossovers along those lines because it's so obvious where these departments lie these days. And that's boring because then we know what characters are going to interact with each other and we know what continuity is going to affect each other except for the big company-wide things. And I'm not saying we need to have crossovers left and right. We need to have this smarter sense of a universe and where these characters lie. Why is Spider-Man never involved with the Avengers in a major way anymore? Like, I want an answer to that. I don't know. Anyways, you can tell this is all coming from the heart because I couldn't script this. This is all just frustrations I have with current Spider-Man and where he's going. For the first time in a long time, though, there's hope. Instead of me just being frustrated with Spider-Man and insisting that they have to change something for him to work anymore, there's an actual window and a situation where we can see potential change happening. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get some more of that old Spider-Man back. And that's exciting. In some ways, this video is an acknowledgement that for once we might get some change. We might get something to actually work in our favor with this character for once. That would be nice. But the prognosis doesn't look good. Like, Nick Spencer is the worst sign of all. The fact that the company hasn't had any major shift in philosophy. The fact that Legacy was working out for Marvel and they're still going ahead with their fresh start soft reboot. These people haven't learned a damn thing. But, you know, there's still titles here and there in between all these things. There's still Renew Your Vows, which has all these features that I like, but it isn't within the main Marvel universe, and that does matter. That always matters and always will matter. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and if you like Comic Island, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and keep reading comics.